there are a lot of complex issues for the sandwich generation who are going through a divorce, because not only are they dissolving a marriage, but they are also taking care and raising their children, working, and caring for their elderly parents. Due to the overwhelming response we received about this topic last week, we are continuing our coverage by diving into the financial complexities the sandwiches, as we like to call them, may face, such as what to do with the marital residence, and what happens if the couple going through a divorce is using marital money to support an elderly parent living with them or at an assisted living facility. Well, joining us to explain is Donna LaScala, president of Comprehensive Divorce Solutions in New York. Donna is a certified divorce financial analyst, a registered financial consultant, a financial neutral, board member of the Association of Divorce of Financial Planners, and president of the Long Island chapter of the Financial Planning Association. Donna, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have you. So why can deciding who gets to keep the marital home, and it always seems to be a big thing in a divorce, that involves a couple falling under the sandwich generation, cause greater complications when they're trying to reach a settlement?
So as you mentioned, Ilyssa, the issue of the marital residence is always a hot-button topic because, A, it's their home, and B, it's probably their biggest or second to largest monetary asset that they have to negotiate with in the divorce. What makes it more complicated for people in the sandwich generation is if they are, in fact, caring for an adult elderly parent that's living with them in the marital residence. And this takes on a lot of different faces when we talk about this issue. Is this elderly parent disabled in some way? Are they wheelchair bound? Have there been modifications made to the marital residence in order to accommodate this particular individual? So now what's going to happen? Who's going to keep the home? Can they afford to keep the home? Is this elderly person now going to be displaced? What monies have been used in order to make those modifications? Whose parent is it? Is the person that's going to keep the home not the actual child of this elderly parent? So there's lots of different issues that need to be examined and addressed in order to reach what could not be necessarily a traditional equitable settlement because of this extra added wrinkle factor into the mix.
What if the elderly parent, and you just made reference to this before, used some of their funds for those improvements or to make it accessible so they can get around? Does that mean the elderly parent can also stake claim in the house as well? And does that give one side the advantage since it's going to be their parent?
So it's a very interesting thing that we bring up here because as with everything that goes on in a divorce, and we've talked about this in so many different aspects, it's all about what you can prove. In a lot of cases, a parent will sell their home and then use that money to make these modifications to their child's home in order for them to be able to move in. But how is that money actually transferred from point A to point B? Where does that money go? Does it stay in the elderly parent's name and then it's just being given to their children as far as the husband and wife in this scenario to make those modifications? Or is there some kind of legal document that's been drawn up? Is it a loan? Is the elderly parent put on the deed? Is there some kind of action that actually goes on to substantiate where this money came from and therefore creates a trail that you can follow and say, okay, well, this $100,000, this $150,000 came from this person as a loan, as a lien against this property, and therefore, yes, they do have a claim. Or was it just, well, we're just using this bank account and that's where the money came from, but there's no actual recording of the intention of how this money is being used and if it has to be paid back. It's not just an I love you transfer. I'm just giving you this money. Okay, is it a gift? Is it a loan? Is there legal documentation that says so? Without it, it becomes very difficult to then prove where that money came from and who it belongs to, and if it's separate property, who gets it.
Complicated indeed. What if the sandwich couple, as we will call them, going through the divorce, was using marital money to pay an assisted living facility for one of the party's elderly parents? Based on your experience as a CDFA and that certified divorce financial analyst and financial neutral, how are these matters dealt with in a divorce?
So as we all know, assisted living facilities are extraordinarily expensive, whether you're in New York or any other place on this continent of ours. And the price just escalates depending upon the care that the person requires. So a lot of times, money is just being supplemented from children. And is it children and their spouse, or is it just individual children? And how is that really kept track of? So if you have a joint account with your spouse and you're just writing checks out of that joint account, it's joint marital money. If you're using other assets, it's joint marital money. Unless you have a separate account that's always been a separate account, and that's what you're using in order to supplement your parents' stay in an assisted living facility, that's a different story. So when we start to look at, okay, what assets are available, what's being divided, who's responsible for paying spousal maintenance, who's responsible for paying child support, because that really is the whole nature of the sandwich generation, that they've not only got children at home, but now they're taking care of their elderly parents. So now we're getting divorced. What income is available, and now how many ways are we splitting this income? So we're going to have two households, but yet we're also supplementing an elderly parent. Now, if it's, let's just call it spouse A. So spouse A, and it's spouse A's parent that's being supplemented, and they're the ones that are also going to be responsible for paying child support and spousal support. Legally speaking, we don't care necessarily how much money is going elsewhere. We just know that this is your income, and according to the calculation, this is what you're responsible for. Now it's up to you to figure out how you're actually going to pay that money. If you're in a mediation or you're in a collaborative dispute resolution case, a collaborative process, we take a much different approach to answering those kinds of questions. We look at a lifestyle analysis. We take into account that there are extenuating circumstances and try to come to a reasonable conclusion to say, okay, look, you can't get blood from a stone. So you have to be realistic that there is not enough money to go around here, and modifications are going to have to be made at some point in some way by some people.
I want to stay on this money topic. Let's say spouse number one is the party who has the parent residing at the assisted living facility, and they are also the moneyed spouse in the divorce. Can spouse number one ask to pay less in child and spousal support because they are also financially responsible for their ailing parent?
So yes, they can, in fact, make a motion. When even in court, they can make a motion, and in a mediation and in a collaborative setting, they can say, look, I only have X number of dollars to spend. I have this obligation to take care of my parent. I know I also have an obligation to my soon-to-be ex-spouse and my children. However, I cannot wind up with zero in my own pocket at the end of the month. Can we look at this realistically? Are there other ways to equalize this situation? So there are conversations that we can have where we can say, okay, so there's retirement assets. So if we're going to waive spousal support, and that can be done, if we're going to waive spousal support, the spouse that's waiving the support will receive maybe more of the available assets in the pool than they would normally have in other circumstances. So they get 70% of the retirement fund instead of 50%, or they get a larger portion of, the other assets, the bank account, the brokerage account, all of those kinds of things. If there are other assets to be discussed, hopefully there are, you can then equalize and normalize in other ways to make it more feasible for the person who's supposed to be paying child support and spousal support to still afford to take care of their parent. We want to be understanding of everybody's circumstances. We don't want to leave one person with nothing. So those conversations can be had. Absolutely, no question about it.
Yeah, and this is why it's so important that they work with somebody, and we talk about this all the time, work with a team, a registered financial consultant, a CDFA, or someone like yourself, a financial neutral, to help them find ways that this can be workable and doable and a win-win for everybody involved.
Absolutely.
Donna, for people who want to learn more about this and how they can learn to manage their money, how can they get in touch with you?
They can call me at 516-248-7522, and they can look me up at comprehensiveddivorcesolutions.com or email me at compdivorce@gmail.com, and I will be happy to answer any questions they have.
Donna LaScala, President of Comprehensive Divorce Solutions, thank you so much for joining us. Don't go anywhere because we will be right back after this commercial break, so stick around.
At Comprehensive Divorce Solutions, Donna LaScala provides the tools for people to deal with assets, debts, equitable distribution, and retirement in divorce negotiations. We hold your hand during and after the divorce process, providing a roadmap of what happens next and into the future. Divorce is difficult whether you're initiating it or not. It's fraught with emotion. When you deal with emotions, you are not dealing with logic, making it more difficult to decide what to do with your money. Hiring a professional to assist you in walking down the money path is crucial to avoiding potentially costly mistakes. Donna's goal is to make sure that each individual knows how they are going to be able to survive and thrive during and after divorce. As a CDFA-trained mediator and collaborative financial neutral, Donna helps people get unstuck and move forward towards their post-divorce future. Call Donna LaScala at 516-218-6919, 516-218-6919.